Good afternoon, everybody. This is Stormcast from Stormcastle's Comics and Collectibles, and today I'd like to chat about Batman Year One and why I think it is the most essential Batman storyline ever. And I know a lot of people are big fans of Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Returns, but honestly, I think Batman Year One is much more important. First, we're going to hydrate because water's always good. Okay, so currently in my collection, which I'm rebuilding after selling off years ago, I have a trade in one individual issue, Batman Year One Part 4, which honestly is amazing cover. So, a brief summary is it starts off with Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham. At the same time, James Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon, is moving to the city to get a job after something disgraceful that happens to him in Chicago. And Bruce flies in over the city and he's like, "Oh, it looks so good." And he goes, "I should have came in by train because I need to be down where the enemy is." And Gordon comes in and he's on the train. And he's like, "Oh my God, this is horrible." He goes, "Barbara can't take a train in. I gotta fly her in," which immediately sets two different tones. That Jim is at the bottom and he doesn't want to experience all the darkness he's going to see, and he has better beliefs. And Batman is above, or Bruce Wayne is above, and he wants to get down into the city, and he wants to see the enemy because that he sees crime as the enemy. So Bruce comes home and he basically spends time figuring out what he's going to do. He's got trained. He doesn't have an identity, and Gordon has been in trouble with something, and basically lets Commissioner Loeb know that he is, going to be better and not there. And they're like, "Don't worry about it," but Gordon is not willing to take. He doesn't like the corruption he sees. He sees Detective Flass, one of his people, and he notices how he's built and how he acts, and he already knows that there are problems inside his force, but he's trying to get better. And eventually, Bruce Wayne goes out and decides he needs to scout the people over the course of months, and he dresses up a homeless vet. He puts a scar on his face so to distract people, so people look at the scar, remember that. They don't remember him, and in the process he runs into a pimp, and he runs into a young lady, and ends up getting into a fight with a pimp, and one of the young lady's friend, her friend is Selina Kyle, and he takes her down, but he gets stabbed in the leg, and he ends up having to flee, and then eventually runs into some police. He gets shot in the arm, and he breaks out of the cop car. He breaks the thing, and he flees back to Wayne Manor, knowing that he's failed, and he thinks that he doesn't know what he's done wrong, and he's how has he already come to the end of his story? In the meantime, Gordon has come in and someone's attempted to bribe him, and he throws the money down. The bad people are complaining about him, and then Gordon, after being attempted to be bribed, writes one of the people up that he believes is involved in corruption, and he lectures the squad about how you can't we must be beyond that. And Commissioner Loeb sends Detective Flass and some of his buddies to enlighten Gordon. So Gordon, whose wife's pregnant, gets a late shift, and as he's gets called into work, a bunch of people grab him and they beat him up, and they warn him, you have a pregnant wife at home. Things can happen. Gotham's a bad place. Get in the program. In the middle of it, he hears a familiar chuckle from Detective Flass. They don't hurt. They're not trying to hospitalize him. They're just trying to hurt him, so he knows. So he goes out, and he calls, and he decides that he needs to solve this by himself. So he finds out where Flass and the guys are playing poker. He goes out. He drives out there to see what's to wait for them. And as he driving out there, he passes Bruce Wayne's Porsche come flying down the road, and he's like, oh, he's probably on drugs, crazy rich people, not realizing that Bruce Wayne is in this vehicle bleeding, who pulls into Gotham, pulls into his mansion, crashes the car, and goes in the house, and he sits there bleeding to death. At the same time, Gordon waits for Flass, and one by one he sees everybody goes by, and he follows Flass, who's obviously quite drunk, and he drives him off the road, pulls out his Flass goes out, he's like, "Hey, do you know who I am?" And Gordon's like, "Put the gun down." He pulls his gun, and then he's like, "I'm gonna give Flass an advantage with his bat," and he beats Detective Flass up. Just beats him. Not enough to put him in the hospital, but enough to teach him a lesson. He says, "I could have done this, and I could have done that." But he beats him. He takes his gun, throws it in the water, handcuffs Flass, leaves him in the snow by the side of the road, as a warning that he's not to be trifled with. At the same point where Gordon is having his epiphany moment, Batman realizes that maybe he needs to find something more scarier. And then the bat flies through the window, and he says, "Father, I shall be a bat." And that's how it starts, the first issue. It's a great book. And everything we see, the art is amazing. We see Batman as he grows. He learns tricks. We find that James Gordon eventually falls in love, has a kind of brief affair with Sergeant Essen, and meets Harvey Dent. He tries to figure out who's going on, but Batman is at this point building up who he needs to be. He's seeing the corruption, and Gordon is in the middle of the corrupt city. He's fighting to clean it up. The thing about it is I'm not going to go over the entire brief story of the entire 4 issues. It's worth the read, but the ideas of this one lone police officer cleaning up the city, that's corruption everywhere, and they're flawed characters. Bruce Wayne is flawed. We don't see him as the Batman later on who can figure all kinds of things out. He's making mistakes. He's learning why he does things. It's laid in here, and everyone who writes or creates after in Batman, nice Flash thing. Everyone later on who writes later on, they tap into the idea of the Roman, it's we see Selina Kyle. She's on the side. It's over and over and over again. They draw back to it. The Nolan trilogy has a feel. He is a source for Batman. Robert Pattinson's Batman movie is where inspiration is from. Every creator who comes after has dug into this storyline, which honestly is the most important part about it. Shows Batman becoming strong, becoming who he becomes. He becomes stronger. He becomes better prepared. He learns, and that's the most important part. It's about him learning, and we see him flawed, and we know he isn't going to improve later on. It's probably the one story that I recommend anybody who's never read a Batman book, or not a big Batman, necessarily Batman fan, is this Batman Year One. this is, in my opinion, Frank Miller's best work. And honestly, it's the best set of Batman stories. You know, he's at the beginning and he's learning. And the characters are all flawed. And it's not bogged down. You know, at the end we get a tease for the Joker. You know, Commissioner Gordon's like, oh, I got a friend. You know, and my friend, and there's this person, he calls himself the Joker. We get teased for that. But in essence, it's not just that Batman is a hero because he's got crazy villains. It's because he's learned and he puts the work in, he puts the lessons in. Sorry, I gotta drink water. But honestly, I think this is the best Batman work. There have been a lot of good books, a lot of good stories that have come later on, and there are good ones before. This really is where, for anything modern, anything that came out after this, 87, this part. I mean, this is at this point over 35 years old, but this is probably the best, if not one of the best runs on Batman ever. Anyways, that's just my opinion. Tell me what you think. Give me your thoughts about it. What you like about the art, or the covers. I mean, I wish I had all the individual issues to show you, because I only have the one issue of Batman Year 4, because I love that cover. I mean, that is just the amazing cover, and I have the trade. But honestly, I think that this is something that everybody should have and enjoy. Anyways, this is Stormcast's Comics Collectibles. You know, do the like, comment, subscribe thing. I appreciate that. But honestly, tell me your thoughts about Batman. And if this isn't your favorite story, what is? Okay? Have a good day.